Hello, friends. Today I will be comparing the new and the vintage version of Guerlain Derby. I said I would do this a long time ago, and here we are, now doing it. Excuse me. Um, First thing to note is the new camera angle. Guess what? That's right. I got two tripods for my birthday of different of different friends. Which is handy. So that means I can move about. I've got a mini tripod off Richie G, and I got a big tripod of Audrey Jane. So thank you, friends, for that. That was very kind. So no more Blair Mitch videos. Sorry about that. If you were a fan of the Twitchy cam, but we'll strive to make small improvements like this over the course of the channel. I hope. I need to get an aspect sorted, but we'll have to deal with this one for today. Means I can do stuff with my hands now. Look at that. Ooh. But yes, so I have already applied these fragrances, and I will be discussing them anon. We will start with the new version. And we'll go for the notes as regaled by Fragrantica. So the new version has at the top bergamot and orange. In the mid, it has carnation, spice, and exotic woods. Nobody ever was walking through a forest and said, "Ooh, look, some exotic woods." You know what I mean? It's just a cop out. It's a synthetic cop out. Anyway, in the base there is leather, birch, woody notes. I suppose that's sort of better. We're getting there. And then patchouli. And straight off the top, I get the bergamot. Straight away, get bergamot. I get the beginning. I get the spice, and I get the first inklings of leather and carnation, which is a vintage trope. You get a lot of leather and carnation in vintage fragrance, especially these big leathery masculine chypres. And it's very nice. It smells vintage, even though this is the 2012. I'm talking about this one. This is the 2012 version, but it does smell like it's come straight from the late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s. Excuse me. You also get some birch, leather and birch just goes together. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's very. I don't know whether I'm going easy on it because it's a vintage fragrance in a new era. You know, it's an old fragrance in modern times. I mean, it's recently been discontinued, so it's a shame, but it is gone again. I don't know if they'll bring it back in one of their new lines that they're charging hundreds of pounds for now. Doubled and tripled the price and put them in new packaging. That seems to be what the future holds as far as fragrances is concerned. But yeah, they're the main notes I get out of this. I don't get much discernible patch, but I mean patchouli can be used for just deepening things out, rounding things out without actually smelling like patchouli. You get like a depth. But yeah, the spice and the bergamot hangs on about 20 minutes, and it's very. You can tell that it's new because you've smelled this bergamot before. You know, it's not like the top of the vintage one, which I'll get to in a second. So the main notes I get out of it are bergamot, carnation, spice, leather, birch. So that's the first one. The second one is different. And they're different fragrances from different times. It's the ingredients, it's the actual materials used to make the perfume that you're smelling the worlds apart, to be honest with you. You get the overall impression, but it's like looking at a picture of that's like looking at a picture of a painting. That feels more like the painting itself. When you go to a museum and you see a painting, it's an imitation. It's done by Guerlain. I'm glad they did it, and I've got a bottle. And when I found out I could get one, I went and got one straight away. Because the prices on these are absolute lunacy. Do not pay the prices, because it's burglary. But there we are. So we'll move on to this one now, and I will tell you what I get from this one the most. I will reapply just a dab because it's precious juice. This is a 7.5 mil mini. It is absolutely stunning. It smells like when it came from, I think it's from 1985, is it? Yes, 1985, the year I was born. Good year that. And this has the note listing in this is at the top, Artemisia, bergamot, mint, and lemon. The mid notes are nutmeg flower, jasmine, and rose. In the base, there is oak moss, leather, sandalwood, patchouli, and vetiver. There is some crossover as far as the notes are concerned. The bergamot at the top, the leather, and the patchouli. And this is just what's stated on Fragrantica. So, I mean, I'm not taking this from the official Guerlain website. And I'm sure if you asked the perfumers at the time, what was in it, they would say much more. What I get from this at the top, straight away, you get the Artemisia, this green sort of leafy, not leafy, you get in the woods, you get that green smell. Imagine a wood in mid-spring. It's not necessarily sunny. It's very green, very earthy at the top. The bergamot gives it a little bit of just a touch, not fruitiness, because fruitiness brings up all sorts of it's not fruit, but it's I don't want to say sweetness, but it is. It's just a touch sweet at the top. And then as it sort of begins to develop, you get the nutmeg flower. The nutmeg in this is huge. You get the jasmine, and you also get the rose. The three mid sort of players are much stronger in this than they are in the vintage. In the modern one, sorry. In the modern one, the carnation sort of does the heavy lifting that the jasmine and the rose do in this one. The carnation in the modern one sort of gives it more. It feels like it lifts it more. The new one's much lighter than the old one. The old one's got the nutmeg, the oak moss, the leather, the sandalwood. They all bring it down. They give it depth. They give it weight. They give it thickness. And in the base of this, the oak moss, the leather, the sandalwood, they all combine in a beautifully. It was made by Jean-Paul Guerlain. You know what I mean? You know what you're going to get. It's got that sort of oak moss, leather, sandalwood vibe in the base. It's much deeper. It's much richer. It's much thicker. It's much denser. It's very clever as well. It's very clever not to fall into Kouros territory or Antaeus territory. It's much more like Antaeus than it is like Kouros. It's strong without being overpowering. This has much better like sillage. This will lift off you much better, but this will hang around for much longer. It's much more intense and deep, but stays closer to you. The nutmeg flower, vintage fragrances used to use a lot of nutmeg. And nutmeg was really popular back in the day. It would give it like a not like a nutty sort of vibe, but like a, you know, like the color of like a nut, like brown and dark and deep, because the nutmeg flower would be used to transition. You almost always found nutmeg, and this is nutmeg flower, not necessarily nutmeg, but you would always find nutmeg would be used to take the fragrance from the top through the middle to the base. Like a runner, you know. You would get it straight away, and it would sort of be there at the end as well, hanging around. It's like the thread, I would say, that this fragrance is built on. And when you get to the base, the oak moss and the leather take over the sandalwoods there as well. But I always felt like there might be like some sort of like little like an old school iris. But I don't know. I wouldn't like to say that on video, you know. But I just have. So, in final thoughts, the fact that this is so outrageously expensive makes this a great purchase. If this was released just by itself, it would be great, but it wouldn't have been released if this hadn't come first. They wouldn't make a fragrance like this in 2012. You look at what else was around in 2012. This wouldn't have been released, even if they came up with it and they were like, "This is great, I love it." It wouldn't sell, and that's why it's been discontinued 8 years later, isn't it? In short, I would love a bottle of this, but I will not pay the prices because they're scandalous and it's not worth those prices. I much prefer the bottle. This is just a mini, but I mean, it just feels so good. It's the Eagle bottle, and this is like obviously the wooden one. I like this bottle. They're a bit of a pig to spray, but they're nice. So yeah, in short, I'd shock everybody by telling you that I prefer the vintage, but I've got the modern, and I really like the modern, and I'm going to wear it in this autumn and winter weather. Apologies. So yes, there we are. I hope you liked my new video, my use of the tripod, one of the tripods that I received. Thank you to my friends who sent me them. So yes, I hope you enjoy the video. Thank you. Goodbye.